Hey everyone, DANIELIEZER here. Welcome back to another review. Don't mind me, I'm currently just catching up on my 18th century report on history. I figured, it's relevant to what we're talking to. There's your only slavery joke you're going to get out of this video. I don't know which is worse, the fact that I searched up when was slavery the most popular, or the fact that I searched up slavery at all on Google. And hell, could you imagine, what would Gen Z kids be like, with their TikToks and stuff? What would it be like if they still had access to slavery? What would they be posting? I think it's best I stop imagining that. One day, our good old friend Miyamoto was outside, seeing a bunch of ants crawl around, and was like, I have an idea! He was also inspired by Mario 128, which is a weird tech demo where a bunch of Marios on the screen, and I think it was just meant to show that the GameCube could not blow up if you had 128 Marios. Yeah. And a few years later, Pikmin 1 finally released. Later on, it would get re-released on the Wii in 2008 with the brand new Play controls, which is just motion controls, and it was alright. And then later on, it would get another re-release for the Switch in a bundle with Pikmin 2, which is the version we're going to be checking out today for this review. So join me everyone as we take a look at Pikmin 1. Our story starts off in the middle of space as we meet Captain Olimar, a space delivery man for a company called Hokate Flight. One day, while doing a delivery, he accidentally crashes into a meteor and lands on a planet called PNF 404. After crashing, we find out that all of our ship's parts are in pieces, and Olimar can't fly back. Well, I mean, he can at least hang out in the stratosphere, but he has no way of getting back home. While looking around, he finds a device that activates upon interaction, and then sprouts a little red seedling. Once it's planted and grows, Olimar pulls it out, and we get our first Pikmin, named after the carrots called Pikmin carrots that Olimar likes to eat. Using that one Pikmin to grab a bunch of flower chips things, I don't know what these are, we're able to create more Pikmin through the onion, the device that basically sprouts out Pikmin and is able to hold Pikmin. Through that, we learn that there are certain objects that will need a lot of Pikmin for in order to, either move something out of the way or carry stuff. And that's the whole mojo of Pikmin. After finding one of our ship parts, we're finally able to blast off into another area of PNF 404. And this is where the game truly begins. Along your exploration, you'll find in the Garden of Hope, the next area, the yellow Pikmin. And these guys, the only thing about them is, they're yellow and they have ears. Now, unlike in the future games where they're all about electricity, these guys are more so meant to just pick up bombs and get thrown up really high. Yeah, I know. But after being able to collect a certain amount of parts in that area, you're able to unlock the next area. And which in there you can find the blue Pikmin, which is blue and is resistant to water. That's kind of his whole gimmick. And going back to the red Pikmin, they're actually resistant to fire. So, put them in nearby anywhere that's fire, and they won't feel a thing. And that's our cast of Pikmin. Overall, it's a neat triangulum of, 3 different types of elements that Olimar is technically going up against, if you count yellow as a certain element. But throughout this game, you'll have to go around through each area and maybe even sometimes do some backtracking. I mean, you'll have to in order to find certain areas and unlock different pathways. But you can make your Pikmin almost do anything, which is either attacking monsters so that you can bring back their corpses and they can be turned into more Pikmin. That is dark as hell. You can use them to bring back your ship parts that you find across the area. You can even send them to destroy certain structures so that you can clear your way and have a better and more quicker access. As sadly, we're on a time limit of 30 days. So, gotta find them all before Olimar loses all his oxygen and basically dies. Yeah, that's not messed up. And that's honestly the specialty of Pikmin. It's honestly great to try and use your brain and figure out what's the best possible method. But there are a few more things to add to it, as some of your Pikmin as soon as they're born, are kind of more so babies, technically. And there is a way to mature them into adults. As if you can find either these little flying creatures, or if your Pikmin start digging around in nearby grass petals, they'll find lumps of nectar. With the nectar, they're basically more matured, and they act more like adults. You can tell by the little flower on their heads. Basically, they'll be able to keep up with you more, and they won't be a few miles away, or a few meters behind you, I guess. And honestly, I will admit, the Pikmin in this game, they have the worst AI tracking. I mean, I get it. They're meant to be babies, and I'm pretty sure it's because it's the first game in the series, so it makes sense. But yeah, it's really hard to navigate them, especially in like very tight corners, and especially when they're Pikmin that you know will die if they fall into like a water vat or something like that. And not to mention, it's easy to lose them around tight corners where you gotta like move around and stuff, which happens a lot. Thankfully, it only happens in the first game, so hey, it's an easy pass. But thankfully, with Olimar's whistle that he has, he's a delivery guy. What the hell? He's able to control the Pikmin and basically call them to him or disband them and, grab a specific Pikmin that he needs. Not to mention, he can also ask the Horde to basically go attack someone by holding L. As for the people you'll be attacking, we got Bulborbs, which are little mushroom creatures that come in both small and big sizes. They're easy to take care of. Most of the small ones, just, throw one Pikmin and you can instantly kill them. As for the big ones, you basically got to throw a bunch of them on their back and they'll start to basically, freak out and stuff, and they'll throw them on the front. But if you keep throwing Pikmin endlessly, they'll, keep getting stunned and stuff. So honestly, not hard to take care of. After that, we got some other enemies like worms and bugs called Sheer Grub that are kind of just sneak up enemies. I mean, look, they just sneak up in places where they least expect them, and they are hard to take care of as, they basically come out of the ground and you got to throw them on there. Although this is kind of before I knew you could actually make your Pikmin horde rush at enemies by holding L. But either way, it was still hard to take care of them. There are also tadpoles, but I'm pretty sure they just function the same way as the bug ones on the land. We then have a flying creature called the Stitch Bug that basically comes in, swoops down on your Pikmin, and proceeds to bury them. Yeah, I don't know his problem. Okay, I don't think the detailed information is going to be really great. Let's just run through them all and basically do that. We ain't got much time left. Woolly Hops, which are weird frogs that will basically squish your Pikmin in an instant, and there's also a subterranean species called the Yellow Woolly Wop. Puffy Blowhogs, which are flying balloon bugs, which are surprisingly easy to take down. I have never seen them kill a Pikmin. Honey Whips are the creature that I mentioned that gives you sap if you manage to attack them. Fiery Blowhogs, which set things on fire, so, just use red Pikmin for that. And then we got other members of the Bulborb family. We got the Ball Bears, which are like Bulborbs, except they have black backs. Then there are the Bread Bugs, which may look like a Bulborb, but they're apparently not at all. Also, all he does is just take your shit, and maybe your Pikmin, if they keep trying to take your shit. I don't know, it's a weird tug and pull thing. There's this one mini boss named Gulik that shows up back at the impact site, because there's technically stuff there to go back and grab. There's also another guy that shows up there on another day, and his name is Mutama, or Mamuta, but I've never encountered him. And that's most of the common enemies I was able to encounter. As for the bosses, we've got the Armored Cannon Beetle. In order to beat this guy, all you gotta do is feed a Pikmin through his blowhole, which causes it to clog up, and basically causes him to overheat, which you have to attack his overheated parts to start to cool down. The Bearing Snagit, which I don't think is considered a boss, but technically he has a part that we need to get back home, so yeah, why not? In order to beat him, all you gotta do is basically just throw your Pikmin at his head, which is hard to aim at. And yeah, although it is a hard boss, so technically you will lose Pikmin. Next we have Beady Longlegs. In order to beat this guy, all you gotta do is wait for his body to lower and throw yellow Pikmin at his head. This guy has big-ass plunger boots, and he's considered a spider. Okay, so for Puffstool, you have to basically cause him to topple over and then send your Pikmin in. I had to search it up on the wiki because I think the Google Doc version I wrote did not make any sense at all. Why is his butt on his front side? And that's all the bosses, except for these two, which I'm going to hold off because, they're end of the game stuff. Anyways, for the map design, as I said before, each one is designed to be basically like a scavenger hunt, as you basically go around and take your Pikmin around and figure out what you can find and plan out your according pathways, so for when you're ready to take back either some of the treasures or any of the bug carcasses that you basically managed to kill. But like I've said before, it's pretty fun to try and figure out what the best route to take is, and create new routes so that you can honestly increase production and either build more Pikmin up for your army so that you don't lose that much, or to basically find the best route to transfer most of the items to repair Olimar's ship. Either way, the amount of options you have are honestly pretty fun. Not to mention, you still have to be on your toes for each area you explore, since you never know if you're about to get ambushed and then you're basically recreating that scene from Private Ryan. But yeah, going around to the different areas, collecting stuff, not to mention you're going to need the other two Pikmin, as you need their abilities in order to actually access the rest of the treasures that are needed. It's honestly pretty fun. Not to mention, at the start of the day, you are going to have to call out your Pikmin, and you need to figure out how much you can call out, since you only have access to only 100 Pikmin. And I think that offers great replayability. Now, while we can't learn anything from Olimar himself, since bro can't talk, and everything he says is just the least we can do is read his logs that he writes down at the end of every day. It gives us more of an insight as to, you know, his desperation for trying to get home, not to mention the new stuff he learns almost every day as he's exploring PNF 404. I think it's a neat way to add lore to the character that is Olimar. But alright, let's finally tackle the end, or I guess should I say the endings, since there's technically 3 different ones. Okay, let's do the bad ones first. Alright, if you fail to collect all the parts, or at least up to 25 parts, Olimar on his final day will try to launch into space, but since, you know, he doesn't have enough parts to launch into space, the rocket crashes back down on PNF 404 and Olimar basically dies. This is a kid's game. But the Pikmin managed to save him by throwing him into the onion and bringing him back as a Pikmin, showing him that intelligent life forms can be saved with the onion, which asks a lot more questions than I'm willing to really find out. If you manage to bring back 25 or 29 parts, Olimar just leaves without saying goodbye, which, yeah, that's just it, he just leaves. Alright, now we can talk about the true ending. Once we make our way to the area known as the Final Trial, yeah, I don't know why it's called the Final Trial, it's on the map, alright, let's go with it. We use our Pikmin skills and logic to basically guide and clear a straight path to the final boss of the game, Emperor Bulblax. An even bigger Bulborb that has a bunch of moss growing out of him and actually was disguised under... Actually, it's a pretty neat idea. I know people like to say that Emperor Bulblax is kind of a bad boss, but I will admit, his appearance is kind of menacing when you really think about it. But as for himself, he runs at you. He has a giant tongue that tries to basically stick a bunch of Pikmin into his mouth. He's actually really easy, and you can actually get him inside a little loop. Okay, I think I'm starting to understand why everybody says it's a terrible boss. After we defeat Emperor Bulblax, we get Piggy Bank as our final treasure. Makes sense, I guess. And this is the part where I should probably mention there was also a secret boss fight that you have to fight before day 15 is over. His name is Smokey Prog. The only way to encounter him is you have to go to the distant spring before the 15th of the day, since, like I said before, or it just appears and you won't see him again. I'm only writing this here is because I thought it was a secret boss that you could find at the end of the game, but I guess I'm wrong. But anyways, after basically beating the final boss of the game, Olimar is ready to head back home, but before he leaves, he says goodbye to the Pikmin one last time. After he flies off into space, he looks back and sees that the Pikmin are now able to defend themselves. Good on them. We then leave Earth's atmosphere, and then we see a bunch of other colored onions flying in the sky. Some that we'll never see as actual Pikmin, but it's still a neat, wholesome ending. And that's the end of Pikmin 1. Overall, for what I thought of it, I thought it was a pretty good first step in the series. You can obviously tell that, you know, when they were coming up with this game, or at least when you're playing through this game, you can tell that it's Baby's first Pikmin game, I guess you could say. There's a lot of stuff in the game that, you know, obviously offers great challenge and great introductory as to how things work in the series. And I even like how, you know, you can't complete every area at once. Like, you have to go back and do a lot of replayability. And the secret bosses are also pretty fun, you know, especially I think they're like great rewards for people who are really trying to rush by, or, you know, cool obstacles to put in people's way if they're trying to rush through and trying to complete the game. For So honestly, I think it's a great first introduction to the series, and honestly, the story, it's very basic and simple, and I think that's honestly what Pikmin should be about, you know, simple-ass stories. Although, I think that kind of did drop after the first game. But anyways, overall, I had my fun with it, and I'm pretty sure, even if I didn't have a chance to play with the Wii Remote controls or anything like that, I'm pretty sure I would have had the same amount of fun, just, you know, with the Wii Remote. But, yeah. That's going to be Pikmin 1, everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the review. And don't worry, we will take a look at Pikmin 2 some other time. Don't worry. But, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the new setup. I forgot to put on the pumpkin hat that I have. And, yeah, I'll see everyone in the next review. See ya.